Recorded December 4th, 2025. Good afternoon, Rod. How are you doing?
Hey, you know what? I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself, by the way? I've only heard from you a few times this week, but it's been sparse. You've been traveling.
I
I'm
have been traveling.
guessing.
It seems like I've been on the road, but we haven't had a show since before.
It's been 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, Thanksgiving. That's our new thing. So the wife and I decided to get some warmth and some sunshine. We went to Belize for
Oh, nice.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And coming back from Belize, I was in the office working and then had to do some travel. So I was in San Antonio and just returned home and back in the house for the last, I guess, 5 to 7 minutes. The flight was delayed and then it was raining and it was actually cold in San Antonio, Texas.
Oh, wow.
I saw the Alamo live. I
Yeah.
haven't been to San Antonio in 17 years. City has grown massively. The infrastructure is super matured around that. I think pre going live, I think I was mentioning to you that I was like, man, there's no way I can do the show from the plane. They will probably frown upon me sucking up all the bandwidth.
Yeah.
And the second thing was, you fly quite frequently, both continental and international. I don't say you can, they put a little sign up to say, don't use Zoom, don't use Teams, don't use any of these video products, right? How could you? The background noise is just,
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
technically you could, because I've done it before.
I have. Yeah. I think you have too, but
Yeah,
I've logged into one of the shows on the plane before.
They tend to frown upon that a little bit.
They
because,
do.
I remember coming back from a vacation and I wanted to watch. This is almost a year to the date. I wanted to watch the college football championships, and so I got the Premier Wireless. I paid for it because I said I want to watch the games. I don't want to, I didn't want to watch them on the little back thing on the Delta thing. I said, man, I'm gonna pay for this. I want to watch the games. Yeah. So it kept spotting. I said, am I going to be a bad person? Yes. So I got one of my old networking hacking tools out. So I spoofed everybody's MAC address at the same time on my card. So all the traffic came to me. So I had all the bandwidth. And they kept resetting the traffic on the plane to the internet.
Which airline is it that has Starlink now? Is it American or United?
Might be American. I know it's not Delta.
Yeah, not Delta.
Yeah, it has to be American United. Yeah, it's one of the big boys.
Because I would, to be honest, I would choose an airline because of that. If they had unlimited, relatively nice speed internet, I would choose that airline over any other. Unless it's one of those crappy ones where you have to pay for your seat and your headrest and everything else.
You have to bring a gallon of gas on with you to give it to them when you come to the gate. Where's your gallon of gas? And put it in there, right?
Yeah, exactly. I've been on those before. Once, the wife, she's the one that arranged the flight. She's like, let's just get the best value. That's not best value. That's the cheapest. That's not best value.
Yeah, it's not best value. I fly Delta primarily because I'm out of Atlanta and I got status, and then the Wi-Fi is fairly decent. They tell you, hey, you're going to go here, and it's going to be spotty, but if you go here, it is going to be good, and if you go overseas, it's pretty good too. That's a good question. I'm gonna figure out what the Starlink. I wouldn't choose a plane for that.
Not for Starlink specifically, but for good Wi-Fi. Yeah,
good Wi-Fi. Yeah. But now Delta makes it so you don't even need it because the in-flight entertainment has all the movies. I think on this flight they had Superman.
Yeah, they do a good job with that. But I like to work when I fly sometimes. Yeah, I do.
It's a good time if it's a long flight, and you and I tend to make long flights. You can clean your email box out, and I can look at a couple of things. So I don't try to do work. I try to do the admin. I guess admin is work, and get all that out the way. And that's like a little mental win. Your inbox is below 100. So if I can get it below 100, I'm good on that. Award of warning. Alternate Wi-Fi got a guy arrested for doing that and messing around, running Eva Twin. I don't do it Eva Twin. Like Australian flight, yeah, probably so.
I'm gonna have to look that up. That'd be a fun story to read.
It was arrested for altering the wire. I was like, prove it.
Oh, And there you go. It was on the news last week, so it shouldn't be too hard to find. I bet you Grok could tell me all about it.
Yeah, you could. That it's like the same thing when they told you turn your electronics off on a plane. And we're like, well, how are the airline attendants using their phone?
Yeah, yeah, that's
no,
always
no other in other countries. That's not a thing. There's no have to turn your phone off. I've flown all over the world. This is
yeah.
a strictly American thing. I can see from some of my background and working in avionics and electronics engineering that why there may be a hypothetical concern around this, but that's neither here nor there. ABC Australian News Post. Yeah, thank Shifty Hacker Guy. That's not me. I'm a law-abiding citizen.
I'm gonna change your name to Shifty.
Shifty Ed.
Yeah.
Over Lefty Ed. No, I did some work. I hit you up. You and I were talking about a project you were building out, and I was just
I did finish part of that, but I'm building something else. I'll show it to you here in a little bit.
Okay. And did some MCP server stuff. Was trying to play around in 365 Studio because of some agent stuff I don't understand, and had one of the deepest defender for AI calls and security around artificial intelligence, just deep from just client of mine. I can't mention the client name, but they were asking some very questions where they want to do, how are we looking at the future of when you're having a hybrid or distributed, artificial intelligence line of busy, meaning, the lower the cost. Are you running client side, a localized artificial intelligence applications with, desktops that have NPUs in them? How to reduce costs? What are we doing for securing AI models that are non-Microsoft? So it was very much a defense in-depth conversation, but some of the actual getting in, I could talk to Foundry all day, right? But some of them was very interesting, especially around the cost with prompt exclusions and token and request exclusions. Like, why monitor activity that I'm telling you is whitelisted? Don't keep monitoring every LLM call or transaction. I didn't know the answer to that, so I'm gonna tee somebody up to that. So very deep questions. I got somebody in mind to help me out. So
yeah,
the SaaS application stuff, that's easy, right? Any edge governance tool that can detect SaaS applications, at a surface level, like MDCA, Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps, and the competitors Netscope and a few others, right? Even Zscaler has some capacity to do that stuff. And then the data protection part from a Microsoft perspective is Purview, right? Being that. But we were talking about the customer building their own artificial intelligence infrastructure. So we were talking about Defender for AI, CSPM, and some CNAP stuff. So I could navigate that. But when they started really getting into the stuff, I'm not an Azure AI and data scientist the way they wanted to get into it. But it was very interesting that they considered this stuff because they got a customer that would download a rogue or impersonated AI SaaS application, and they are using it, and it's not legitimate. And now that application is getting access to the data and or the prompts that this person is using because it was sideloaded, and the machine can run it localized. So they're asking the question, where's that enforcement coming from? Is the enforcement coming from MDE? Is the enforcement coming from Intune? I said it has to be a little bit of everything. It has to be how you guys have a conditional access policies, what you are sanctioning, what you're running from endpoint protection, what other models that you're using in our SaaS applications. You're going to have a enterprise artificial intelligence security architect. You grab a framework, and right now Zero Trust is probably the closest thing you're going to get to be able to address this. But it's like Frank said, shout out to you, Frank. Frank couldn't make it today. He'll be back on the 18th, everyone. If you're a really highly leveraged Microsoft shop, they may be a role for a Microsoft security and AI principal architect. Someone that can look at it and don't have to get all the way down into the weeds. That shouldn't be your job. Yeah. The job is saying, what is the operational impact of sanctioned users in 365 Copilot? And you have to take into account that these users may be going out and downloading, Grok and this and this and this and that. you got to find a way to enforce zero tolerance from anybody's model and not let it be installed or not let it transmit information if it's not a client side install because everything's SASE, right? Nobody solved that yet. Don't let anybody fool you. They can say these things. No major company has solved this at a scale where you can lock it down from client side to workload side and all things in between in the complete model yet. Microsoft hasn't, Google hasn't, AWS hasn't, Meta hasn't, Oracle hasn't, right? So you have to get someone to understand what are you doing in that. I learned a lot in that conversation from the customer. I told them this is some of the best question I had, but we'll figure it out. What about you, man? What have you broke?
So I'm not breaking things lately. I'm actually in building mode. You've seen some of that. Let me show you this thing. I think people would be interested in this. Let's see.
While you doing that, did you ever finish that did you ever finish that applied model for using that thing that Frank sent us? So you went out and got your badge for finishing that.
Oh, you know what? I haven't had a chance to go back for that yet. I will. Did you finish it?
Yeah, I sent you guys the badge. I got.
Oh, that's right. That's right. No, I thought you used AI to make that badge. I didn't.
No, I didn't. I passed the course.
Yeah. So we have this interesting event that we're preparing for, and like I said, I've been in builder mode lately. The Thanksgiving holiday and just the time off, I just wanted to do something different. So kind of been in developer mode. Anybody that's interested in this after we go through it, I have this GitHub repository out there I call Junk Drawer. And it literally has all the things that really don't fit anywhere else. But I have this thing that I just put out there today that I'm messing with called Purview Quest. And it's essentially if it's a game that we're going to introduce at this event. Mm-hmm. It's an event based on something, probably a good idea behind what this game is for. But it is, can you survive a 30-day audit? And you have to use Microsoft Purview to do it. So it's a way to teach how to use Microsoft Purview for your data audits. It works pretty well. It has different scenarios. You start with day 30, preparing for the audit. Sales share to 5 GB customer. I got to work on the size of the fonts. Database via personal Gmail. What's your move? Do you ignore that and because they're trusted, send them a reminder email or activate DLP and sensitivity labels? Which one do you think?
Oh, you asked a question. Sales share to 5 GB customer database via personal file. Ignore they're trusted, send them a reminder email. Oh, come on, man.
All right. I'm just making sure. And it gives you that. It gives you the whole audit trail of the things that you've done, so you can also go back and see if you've done it. But if you do the wrong thing, I'm just going to tell you that too. Probably risky move. Let's see what else can we come up with. I can just the whole thing is if you go through this, you can either be promoted to CISO or you get fired and you have to start building your resume afterwards.
Well, it sounds like getting fired is the win. I don't want to be CISO.
It is because it's lots of fun, but it's a cool game. It's not quite finished. I'm working on a LLM based version of it as well, so that it's going to be agent based, so that it automatically develops a brand new game every single time.
Oh yeah, and the cool part about it is using the right and or wrong answers to maybe generate a sub-series of questions, right? I saw that you always keep your stuff dark. Was that just Edge, or were you using Streamlit and automation?
That's literally just the system default. Everything defaults to whatever my system is, and it's the system's dark. I know it's bad for screen captures and stuff like that, but if I have to stare at a bright screen all day, I'll go nuts.
I can't do it, man. I'm looking for my glasses now. I need my glasses to see, but I can't find them. I feel like Velma on Scooby-Doo. I can't see without my glasses. So my eyes are tired. Yeah. You know what? I do have something. What's today? Thursday.
Yeah.
So while we get our guest on, I'm going to go grab something. So it may complement what he's talking about. There was some announcements that came out today in regards to M365 E3.
And E5.
And E5.
Yeah.
The community blog should be out. I think it came out when I was probably in the air.
Yeah.
But I know that it can be shared now. So if it has been shared, Rod, you can look at it in the back real quick.
Yeah,
there will be some price changes to E3 and E5 for the listeners. If you're listening live or you're going to listen a little bit later on, go out there and look at the tech community blogs. You will see that. And one of the major changes is that certain functions or certain offerings are now going to be embedded into the E5 and E3 license. Primarily, that would be Intune Suite. Yes, big changes. The actual cost of increase of that won't occur until July of 2026 for E3 and E5. I don't have the percentages in my head right now. In the grand scheme of things, per license is not super significant. If you just look at the cost versus the base, what it was and what it's going to, you'll get three sets of numbers. You'll get the original cost that you had, and you'll get the price increase. It gives you a percentage, it gives you the actual dollar and cents amount. Now, that single line item looks like, but if you're talking about an organization of thousands, right, it's supposed to multiply across that. And I'm sure most customers at that level have some type of negotiated, pricing discounts or whatever else. But that was something that was announced majorly. What else I got? Don't have a show next week, which is good because I got to travel for training. But for some advanced security training, I have no idea what that is, but it's supposed to be advanced. Oh, so Rod has it up. That's what's going on. It's on the tech community. So yeah, for those who are not watching live, I'll give you a mini readout. Like I said, Microsoft Enterprise Mobility and all that stuff in Intune is going to be put there. And Intune solutions at scale. So those who had the separate suite, it's not going to be embedded into it. I don't know the details about if you are already buying the suite as a standalone and an add-in, how that's going to roll up. But it should be good reading for those. So we wanted to put that out. And I'll save this piece because I think our guest is going to talk about it. If not, I'll chime in and see how he talks on it. So without further ado, we're much later into, we're going to try to get our guest on it the 15 minutes after. We got returning our superstar, James Key, Principal Program Manager for Security Copilot for Partners. James, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thank you so much. Always a pleasure to be invited back and get into the shenanigans that y'all get into. It's always fun.
Shenanigans. It's always some shenanigans. I know we sort of teased everybody that you were coming back. Go ahead, Rod. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying Saturday Night Live has that award for the host that hosts the most. I think James he might be the individual that's been on this show the most number of times.
I would say yes.
We're going to have to do something special.
Yeah, we have to get him a Christmas hat or something. We're going to send him an ugly Christmas sweater. That's what we're going to do. And we have to get you a T-shirt too. Rod has all the T-shirts, so you reach out to him. He'll mail you some T-shirts or something. Or some. How about this? I'll mail you some security for Copilot
stickers. There we go. Go old school.
Yeah, old school. I literally got a box of them in the mail.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. So James, tell us, why would you take your wonderful evening on a Thursday, which you could be watching Thursday Night Football or something, or prepping up to come back on this show with these two troublemakers, Rod being the primary troublemaker, me just being a witness accomplice?
Hey, like I said, I love the shenanigans that y'all get into. I love the conversation, discussions, and the audiences that are targeted around this. Plus, there's a lot of great things to talk about from a security co-pilot perspective with our partners, and so many things coming out of Ignite. We had a previous session before Ignite. I had a lot of shackles on me where I couldn't say a lot of things that I wanted to say. It was very nerve-wracking and hard not to say those things. But then Ignite came around. We got to see all those amazing announcements with the M365 E5 inclusion of Security Copilot, how that's being coming about, and so many other updates across the board too. So it's always a pleasure to come on here and be able to broadcast those and have a little fun along the way too.
So you're saying you could talk about them now?
Oh, there's a lot of things I can talk about now. Absolutely, they're all public knowledge, and we can definitely dive into those areas. I made a couple of posts over in the private channel. I tried to make them in the actual comment section, but it says I can't post for some reason. I don't know. It wouldn't allow it to go through. So I just added them into the private channel. Hopefully y'all can replicate those over to a place.
I'm starting to put them in, and I guess we'll talk about those. And just thinking about it, I think last time you were on, we sort of left it as a cliffhanger. It's like, hey, come on sometime after Ignite, and this is it. So
So James, give us I won't say give us your top 5 or top 10. Give us what you want to talk about. I'm listening. I'm all ears. You ready?
No, absolutely.
Oh, I think you're slowing down a little bit, James.
One thing I did say, me being a cow. I'm slowing down. Oh,
yeah, you're having some problems with your.
Can you hear me better now?
Video.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we good now, though? Good.
Yep, I think so.
Or is it still glitchy? Okay.
No, you're good.
Awesome. Well, I definitely want to make sure that if anybody did come back wanting to see those, that you get to see those, because I did make a little bit of a cliffhanger at the end. So I'm going to share my desktop really quick, let you see those, and then we'll move into the technical side. Because y'all are interested in seeing me in my cow outfit, which made sense with my wife. Without my wife being beside me, I look like the Chick-fil-A cow. So without further ado, let me go ahead and get a couple of things up here really quick to show y'all, and then we'll move into those technical sides too. One of them is going to be a picture with my son, and then the other one is one with my my wife. So, let's see, how do we share? Share screens. There we go. Okay, we're going to just share. And window, entire screen. Still getting used to how this right here works. Okay. Hopefully you're able to see my screen now. So these right here are the 2 amazing pictures I got. There's me in my cow outfit with the UFO with my wife, and then my son being abducted by aliens and me getting caught up in the spaceship. So again, just want to give y'all a little bit of that because I did leave it on a cliffhanger. Don't make sure that people were able to see everything. But getting back to the more important things. So from a security copilot perspective, a lot of good stuff happened at Ignite. I made a couple of posts. I think Rod went ahead and posted those over in the comments. The first big one has been the inclusion of security copilot into the M365 E5 license SKU, which is huge. It's great for our enterprise customers. And in all honesty, it is a way for you to have a bucket of SCUs, 400 of those per 1,000 seats of M365 E5 prorated. So if you have less than 1,000, then you get a little bit less. As you scale up beyond that 1,000, it goes all the way up to 10,000 SCUs. So an amazing opportunity there to be able to see the art of possible, be able to show more investment and more opportunity and benefits of the M365 E5. And you'll see a wealth of great information here. Honestly, this FAQ that we put together is something that answers really 90% of all questions that I get from customers and partners alike. So definitely make sure you bookmark that. It's going to be a go-to place as we continue to update it with other relevantness too. One thing I always want to put an asterisk on this is that it is not available for every single customer as of right now. It is a rollout process, as you can imagine. As more and more tenants become activated for Security Copilot, our GPUs start spinning crazy fast, and we have to make sure that the stability of the ecosystem remains top-notch. So it is a phased up process over the next coming months. The ones that we targeted to begin with at Ignite was any customer that had an M365 E5 license that already had Security Copilot enabled. They were using it. They've already invested in it. They've jumped on the journey with us. And we want to make sure we stop the bleeding in regards to them paying for something that's already included in their M365 E5 licenses to a specific degree. So the rest of the customers and tenants will go ahead as we move forward into 2026. But we're making great progress across the boards on those areas. So that was huge on that side. Again, making it a little bit easier from the adoption process for customers across the board and targeting our initial audience of our enterprise customers. Now, my job pivots a little bit to where I'm going to be focusing on how do we bring Security Copilot to other SKUs and other areas, particularly around those with our SMBs and SNCs. It's a space that we need to unlock. And we have some opportunities there too. So building out that compelling story is objective number 1 for me going into the next 6 months.
Let me ask you a quick question, really quick. You said something at the very beginning as you was giving a readout is that it's 400 SEUs per 1,000 seats. But you said if you had a little bit less than 1,000 seats, you got a little bit less than 400 SEUs. So there is a little bit of we're not going to set a hard line at 1,000 to get 400 at the 1,000 seats. Is that a hard number or is it sort of?
Nope. You can have one M365 E5 and you'll still have the inclusion of Security Copilot, but it'd be prorated down. So one of the FAQs that you were looking at there shows a little bit of the pro rating piece.
Mhm.
And it gives you an idea that if you have like 160, I think, licenses versus the 400, with the 1,000, then it will scale down. But it is prorated, it is scaled, there is no hard limit. As long as you have one M365 E5, you will get at least some SCUs. And then the more that you have, the more that you get.
Okay. I can imagine if it scales to 1,000 and then you draw that back or I get the term, you would see that one M365 V5 license probably got you point something of an SCU or something.
Yep.
So, yeah, but it makes sense.
Yep. What I would do is I would take 1,000. Take 400 divided by 1,000, and it sort of gives you an idea of how many SCUs you'll get on a individual basis, and then you can scale that up.
That's what I was trying to do. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Thanks.
Absolutely. And again, it does scale all the way up to 10,000 SCUs. So that is the maximum. And you're going to have a lot of seats in order to get to that number. As you can imagine, 1,000 seats gives you 400 SCUs. But we are looking at enterprise customers, so they normally have a large quantity of seats anyway.
Yeah, pretty much.
So what are you hearing from customers so far? Because quite honestly, the number of times that I've been in public speaking about Security Copilot, that's always the first question. How much does that cost? It's always a cost issue.
Absolutely. Cost has been one of our biggest inhibitors when it comes to just customer adoption. And a lot of it comes down to the way that the business model was designed at the very beginning. It's called a consumption-based model, but honestly, it's more of a provision-based model because you lose what you don't use. And that's a little bit hard for organizations to stomach a little bit, having something out there that you're paying for that you never actually see any, ROI in. But ultimately, this right here is a way that we're going to be able to accommodate for that. Now, the great thing about this is that it works in conjunction. So this particular bucket of SCUs is available across the entire tenant. So it's not something that's isolated to an individual workspace. It's not isolated to an individual team or group. It's all across the board. So you got to be very careful about that for teams not over consuming. But at the same time, you can also piggyback off of this with a overage model. So for instance, if you do have 400 SCUs because you only have 1,000 seats, then after that 400 SCUs are used up in that given month, if you do have an overage model attached to it, Security Copilot will continue to work, leveraging that separate bucket that you purchased. So it's a great combination between those pieces.
My mind is spinning around the opportunity for partners now, which I'm sure you're going to talk about, because this really unlocks the partner's capability to come in and show value and impact now, because they have an opportunity to not only utilize the customer's endowment of a sort, that now they can make money. That's it.
Absolutely. There's a lot of opportunity here across all three buckets that we look at from a Security Copilot. The ability for our partners to sell the Security Copilot through consulting offerings, proof of concept, proof of values, assessments, and discoveries. The opportunity for our partners to be able to build, to create agents, to create types of content that they can deploy out into the environment of the customer. And then lastly, the ability to use it from an MSSP perspective. We do have some functionality around Azure Lighthouse and Sentinel-based skills, which means that the partner can leverage their SCUs to invoke activities across the customer's workspace. So there's a lot of opportunities there. It's definitely opening up a lot of customer adoption blockers that existed. But again, we have to remember that this focus has been on enterprise customers. So some of the other customer segments may not necessarily be solved through this right here, but that's where my responsibility and job now pivots, finding out ways of being to integrate this type of model in more of an SMB and SMC space, maybe like a business premium, stuff of that type of SKU that's very common with SMEs and SMCs that are very much Microsoft centric, and really focusing more on the embedded experience and the agent experience versus the standalone and sort of that command center type of approach.
Yeah, there was a question or a comment put inside the general chat by Jingle Delta 1 Echo about how long can they keep feeding money into an investment providing little to no return. It's sort of the thing, and I think when you say they, you're talking about Microsoft. I mean, you're looking at it from a business, not so much of a technical thing. I won't give more than 30 seconds to this. Not that it's not important. It's a great question, but I want James to go. You're looking at being able to provide value because you believe that the revenue generation and the stickiness of other offerings will be the result of this, right? E5 is not a cheap SKU, and it's always a renewal battle with customers that have thousands upon thousands of seats about, hey, how am I utilizing all the benefits of E5? I believe this is the carrot, right? For lack of a better term. And here's a carrot to maintain that E5 SKU as your North Star solution, because there's so much inside of that. And in that, all of those particular workloads have direct competitors against them. Each one of our workloads in E5 has a direct competitor. We all know who competes with MDE. Some of us know who competes with Entra's not it, but MDI. MDI might be the only one that doesn't have a very straightforward one. But MDCA has one. MDO definitely has one. Proofpoint, right? So we're trying to make sure the customer stays, in that SKU and by providing more value. And so we'll move on from that. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. One of the important things I think here to note is that our adversaries and threat attackers are using AI for malicious purposes. And from a human perspective, it's improbable that humans can actually compete from an AI perspective one-on-one without some form of AI in the defense side. That's why Security Copilot is imperative. It's no longer a want, it's a need. It's something that is, going to be incorporated more and more as we see from a security, compliance, management, identity stack perspective, because it's an imperative aspect to be able to create some form of balance between the threat attackers and the defenders. AI is going to become extremely important to help to weed out some of the white noise, to classify and to reallocate and summarize the information, make it more meaningful, and also to be able to perform some of these activities that are more redundant, that are tedious, that are time consuming, that just require knowledge and information, which AI is very good at, and then allow the people to actually focus more on the areas that require expertise and wisdom that are more critically thinking and so forth.
Yeah. And I keep it. I had to, one more time, 20 seconds. I had a customer ask something similar, and they were talking about how am I going to be able to show return on investment? And because ROI is a direct comparator against your internal TCO. They don't like each other, right? So the customer said, well, how can I say, well, how many ships are you running in your 24/7 SOC? They said 3, sometimes 3.5. I said, what if I told you once you get your processes down with artificial intelligence, you don't eliminate the shift. You let AI run that shift that's non-desirable to humans or reduce the count and move that body count. Don't eliminate that talent. You move that talent from that overnight shift into your day shift. So now you have the ability to affect seniority. The senior guys get 9 to 5. The more early guys get 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. or 10. And now AI with maybe 1 or 2 human, supervisors run that other shift. So you don't eliminate your talent. You just move them, and you have a denser concentration in the working hours for that. And you can do so much with that. They love it. They're like, we didn't think about that, because most people talking about AI is talking about human elimination and job elimination. No, you just move the resources somewhere else. That's all.
It's all about augmentation. It's all about strengthening. And yes, it does remove some of the workloads from individuals, but it provides opportunity also for upskilling and for career development. I see it as a way to be able to pursue new things and to get new areas of passion that you may have around the security space that actually derives more critical impact and more substance versus, doing triaging of tickets and, tier 1 type things that's just repetitive. It's very generalistic. It's like when I first, started my IT career. My very first IT career was back as a consultant, working a contract during the Wells Fargo and Wachovia bank merger. And all I did every single day for 8 hours was reset passwords. Go into AD, reset a password, send out an email notification. That kind of stuff is things that we can automate. We can go through and get that sort of off of the time aspect, because time is money. And if we can upskill our individuals to be able to be more proactive and be more in depth in these different areas, it's only going to strengthen the organization in the end. So that's what this key point, I think, from an AI perspective.
All right. So what other interesting Ignite things you want to talk about here?
Yeah, another one that I'm really excited about is the Microsoft Entra Agent ID. The ability of being able to almost pull a lot of the Entra ID capabilities over into the agent space. Traditionally, we would focus that on more of the user base, but having ownership of the agents, being able to apply things like access reviews, conditional access, PIM privileges of escalation, and so forth. All those type of things are going to strengthen the capabilities and the security and governance of agents. As you can think a little bit about, in the beginning, the compromisation of user accounts was critical. Now, as we become more agent focused, move away from the generative AI approach to more of an agentic AI approach, we're going to need things that govern these agents and protect them, so that we don't end up, sooner getting to a Skynet situation where AI decides it wants to, take over and thinks that we're, incompetent for what we're doing. But in that case, it's very important, to be able to, lock those things down and have that governance and checks and balances in place, because you're going to start seeing here soon from a Microsoft perspective, and you're already seeing it right now. You saw it a little bit at Ignite, but the agents are becoming more actionable. They're no longer just summarizing. They're no longer just reviewing and providing insight. We're getting to the point where they're actually taking action. And when that comes up, that's when customers get very petrified to some degree about, well, this agent's going to do something that, I didn't want it to do. And that's where this concept of interactive agents come in, where we're able to communicate with the agent, ramp them up, train them like individuals, and tell them when they're doing a good job, when they're doing a bad job, how to do things better, and ultimately understand that just like people, agents will make mistakes occasionally. And we have to have governance and compliance and different forms of security around that to prevent that from happening. And then more importantly, to prevent them from being hijacked from a malicious threat perspective. Mm-hmm. People that compromise a user account, they'll immediately start looking for agents that they can start, manipulating and using for automation purposes. And that could be spun around. So we want to make sure that we're governing and protecting that situation also.
Yeah, you can't fire an agent. You can fire a person for screwing up, but not an agent. Yeah.
Yep. Well, the other thing is not to look at the agents as a totally automated function that is not intelligent. It is very strict to the orders. And so some of the technologies that's already in place to prevent rogue activities are deliberate and indeliberate, right? Is U-bot. So instead of have a user entity behavior anomaly, and analysis, you're going to have agent anomaly user behavior. So when the agent starts acting weird, you need that same logging. Do not stop logging your activities. That agent's still doing things that's generating logs. Matter of fact, logging may be even more important. And look at behavioral anomaly for agents. So we got to get people to stop thinking about agents as a robotic or autonomous technology ones and zero entity. Like treat it like a person. Monitor the behavior. Know it's going to make mistakes, and you should be fine. Going forward, and then maybe limit it. So you're talking about user access, role creep, and scope creep. Put the same things on here. This agent cannot have global admin rights. It cannot have these rights. Don't over.
And that's where those access reviews come into place. You're doing access reviews just like you do with like a normal person. And I mean, we're seeing checks and balances being put in place across the board when it comes to Microsoft specifically, because intra-ID agents and everything, that right there is just one piece. We already have incorporated into Defender for Cloud, looking at things from a risk perspective and how anomalies are taking place in the Azure space. There's already incorporation in Defender for Cloud Apps when it comes to looking at different forms of generative AI and agents and so forth, about what they're accessing, how they're doing. So we have a lot of checks and balances in place across the board with a lot of our product suites. And that's one thing I'm working to sort of begin the mapping process to say, we have AI for security, but we also have security for AI. And how does the security apply to AI? And how do we, make sure that AI is being handled in the right way? We have multiple pieces of that spread out across our entire stack, just like from a zero trust architectural design perspective. Mapping that out is going to be a huge opportunity for our partners to be able to move in and to help our customers become more secure and mature in the AI space, particularly around their different areas. And that's where the M365 E5 license really shines, because of all those individual areas that will elevate up from that.
Yeah, I think a lot of the job careers are going to be maintained, because now you're going to be, whereas we were monitoring the activities of both internal behavior and external negative nefarious behavior, the revamping of skills around our senior security people is like, hey, we need to monitor this too. Josh Ox 11 had a question, and Raw, you want to run with this? He said, I don't want to derail the conversation, but would you say the evolution of agents would be more so the MCP servers, which is messaging context protocol, right? Servers getting better call outs, or just higher evolution of agents themselves? What's your opinion on that? Raw, you go first.
Well, that's interesting, because when you think what an MCP server does, it builds the context around the initial prompt, and then it vets the prompt, and then it produces that response, right? So yeah, an agent can take advantage of an MCP server, but I think the evolution of an agent is literally to do the actions of something that you don't want to do anymore. This is, we from an IT perspective, we've always tried to figure out how to automate everything so we can enhance our jobs. This is agents are just simply a more intelligent way of automating those things, right? It's just another tool. I was just thinking, it's so funny earlier, you talked about we need to monitor the agents. Well, you can get an agent to monitor that agent, right? Literally you can. And the whole idea is to eliminate those those mundane, repetitious things like we've always been trying to do, but an agent can do it in such an intelligent way that it benefits a lot better, and it can do it in a lot of ways, a lot of times more accurately. And I know we're talking about an agent screws up. Yeah, it probably will, but I promise you it will screw up a lot less than someone that doesn't have that skill set already after it's been trained.
And an important part about that is with the interactive agent capabilities, you have that ability to feed in insight into the agent to train it. So if it does make a mistake, it learns from that, it stores it in what we call memories, and then it incorporates those back into future investigations and future actions to say, hey, I did a great job doing this. I didn't do such a great job doing this. How do I make things better? And it learns, it grows, it matures, just like a person does. So that's a phenomenal aspect on that side. Going back to what Josh mentioned about the MCP servers and so forth, honestly, that's just a tool in the tool belt from an agent development perspective. You have APIs, you have GPT, you have KQL, you have MCP server. You have all these different tools that can be leveraged, incorporated into the design of the agent. So the agent may, spin out some KQLs occasionally to do X, Y, and Z. It may reach out from API to integrate with other types of services. It may send over information to an MCP server to be analyzed and do X, Y, and Z to turn the results back. Yeah. So it's not just one individual piece that's isolated. It's an incorporation into the complete life cycle and development build of these agents and how they're evolving.
Well, and that's a piece of that intelligence, right? That agent is going to know the best tool to use to accomplish that job, whether it's KQL or an MCP context, whatever it happens to be. And over time, as better tools are released, it's going to identify those tools and use those instead.
No, absolutely.
And if I had to use a big brain hypothetical, like go out here and say, what is the future roadmap for this growth of this particular technology? I think that agents are going to be very much scaled the way you see biological entities like you and myself. You're going to have a more senior agent than a junior agent. And so because you don't want to overload the processing this by making this agent have to go back and reveal so much text context or history or memory. So you're going to have lower level agents that would then get challenged and reviewed by a senior agent. So you reduce the computational requirement for these tasks, so you don't have a single agent at the highest level. So when the work is being done, say agent level 1, agent 2 may check it, and then agent 3 may give the final say so to be able to go. I know
that brought an idea to my mind how you could make a business model out of that. Would you like to hire our junior agent or our senior agent? The junior agent, obviously, you can get for $1 a day. The senior agent, it's going to cost a little bit more.
And the thing is, when you sell it, all it is that the history and the skilling of that particular agent, we give it to you and you'll be able to do it. But if you're doing your own stuff, you want to reduce the computational time by sitting here and saying, I'll take this task and they can go up and go to approval. You're going to see that stack, because I remember coming through my career and I got stuck. I called a senior person like, hey man, I'm in front of my skis. I need some help here. Right. I think that's going to be the thing. Yeah, that was just big brain stuff. I see Rod brain hairs catching on fire.
I'm thinking about interviewing agents at this point, figuring out there's probably going to be a methodology for that. Do we want to use this agent? We have to have some kind of interview process. I want one that's going to tell me jokes every once in a while.
Well, one of the things I think is very important is we have partners that are already sort of moving in that approach. The agents necessarily aren't communicating with one another just yet. That's something that is being worked on. But the idea around this right here is that you're going to have this fleet of agents. You're going to have these agents that are like tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 type of approach. And ultimately, you throw those into the investigational, sort of a landscape, and they pass information on from place to place. Because, as I mentioned previously in our last session, we build agents really around 3 type of concepts. One is an agent that's designed around a specific issue, a particular purpose. Maybe it's a triaging agent, and then it spins it off to an email investigation agent, and then spins it off to a device investigation agent. These are very skilled in those areas. So it's around specific, use cases and issues. The second type of agent is one that's more persona-based. It's very skilled and very understanding of how to be an IT admin, how to be a data security analyst, how to be a SOC 1 analyst. And then the third type is really focused on individual products. A particular agent that is solely focused on understanding and being able to articulate and be able to process and take action against, say, CrowdStrike or Carbon Black, Okta, Defender for Office 365. It's very product specific. So this whole concept right here about how agents are becoming more like virtualized people in a way is true. And it is a little bit scary, I think, for customers and individuals that thinking that I'm going to be, outplaced or outsourced or, this agent's going to take over my job. It's not necessarily that. it's an opportunity for these individuals to say, well, I've been an L1 analyst for like 5 years. Let's take the jump to L2. Let's let that agent be something that helps me along the way also. I think the Microsoft sort of thought process behind this is that every person that is out there in these organizations will have an agent registered and associated to them. They'll be the manager of that agent. That agent reports back to them, and they're able to leverage that for multi-purposes and multi-uses. But ultimately, they're teaching it and training it in order to how to do the job better and better and better, so that they can offload things and not have to do a lot of these things that are very mundane and very repetitive. They can focus on more critical things that are important versus, creating X, Y, and Z stuff. Like for me, I don't create PowerPoints very often anymore. I let Copilot create my PowerPoints because it does a very good job of getting me my 80 to 85% very quickly. And then I'll tweak things as I need to. And that's where that incorporation of like Teams data and SharePoint, OneDrive data, your Outlook data all comes in together to sort of give you that visibility of those creation pieces. Yeah. It's the same way. Our leadership inside of Microsoft is saying that you should be using AI every single day of your job for multi-reasons and multi-purposes to be able to scale at a rate that humans can't do naturally.
Yeah, I totally agree with that because I haven't written a fresh KQL query from scratch in almost a year. And so when I create it using a AI model of choice, it never gets past 70% correct. That's when the expertise come in. I'm finding myself have to go in and optimize it. Now, will the query work? Yeah, but I was like, oh God, this is the worst written query ever. It doesn't understand the intent of what I'm trying to do. And so I'll go back and I'll optimize it, right? Because as you start searching these larger data sets, optimization of what you are doing is where the human component comes in. I had a question. I had a scene moment right here. I can't even remember now. But you made the example of product specific agents coming in, and I want to stay on that track there. You gave the example of the Entra agent. Can you give an example of another agent that's product specific that Microsoft is either announced, enhanced, or talked about during the night?
Well, one, we have a DLP triage agent. We have an incident SOC agent for the Defender side. We have, I believe, like an Intune device investigator agent also. So there's quite a few out there that are 1P products that Microsoft has created. But we have a wealth of partner developed ones also. If you go over to the Microsoft Security Store, securitystore.microsoft.com, you'll see over 50 agents that are published as of right now, spanning across our entire portfolio. Whether it's Defender, Sentinel, Intune, Purview, you name it, they're there. And what I love about what our partners are doing, Microsoft sometimes develops things not necessarily under the right context because they're building brilliant things. But from an industry perspective, it may be off a little bit. Our partners, they're developing agents specifically based upon what their customers are demanding and asking for. They're building with intent, they're building with quality in mind, and they're building with outcomes. It's to resolve real-world scenarios and situations. And we're bringing that back to the Microsoft side. One of the things that you started seeing at Ignite is us bringing these third-party agents into our 1P experiences, bringing it over into the Defender portal, bringing it over into the Entra portal, and so forth, to showcase how our partners are complementing the Microsoft products and the Microsoft agents. We're not looking for compete situations. We're not looking for mismessaging or any type of areas where it could cause confusion. We're looking at ways of being able to say, Microsoft has created these agents, but these partner agents actually complement, extend, and go beyond certain areas for very specific use case and purposes. It's all about augmenting. So in actuality, not only is AI augmenting the user experience, we're also augmenting other agents at the exact same time. And that's a pretty cool concept of being able to create and augment across the board with that.
It's essentially like sending one of your employees to training, right?
Absolutely.
You got the customer, you got the partner providing these agents, and as explained on the last show that you were on, it's up to the partner to make sure that offering that they put it into securitystore.microsoft.com provides value ongoing by them skilling up their agent that they bought, that the customer purchased. So, someone buys your product and then in 6 months they still at version 1.0, but your competitor's like 2.1. Why aren't you updating the agent I bought? And then you do it. And I think that market competition drives innovation.
Everybody absolutely. I love competition. In the end, it does breed innovation. It breeds advancements. And you see a lot of things happen. I've seen some stuff on the Microsoft side where I brought agents into the 1P, and they're like, wow, why didn't we think about that? Like, very interesting. Why didn't you think about that? But at the same time, it's a process of resources and allocation of time, money, and people. Partners sometimes can pivot a lot faster than Microsoft can because we're a significantly large Titanic. We have a lot of obligations across an entire ecosystem where our partners can be more strategic. So you're looking at, Microsoft being more of a general surgeon, and then our partners can be specialty surgeons that go in for very specific use cases and purposes and demands that maybe meet things from like a GDPR perspective or from a Sweden, Norway perspective, Australia, that, Microsoft is building for the masses. Our partners are going to be building based upon what their customers need around them and where they can also expand their portfolio. There's a nice competitive ecosystem that I think is going to really be good.
And I think that it prevents IP duplication and imitation, because just because there's AI and just because you can write an agent does not make you an identity specialist, does not make you a data supply. Because if you go out and try to copy someone's stuff, you don't have the context of the history. And so think about the geographic regions. Like, let's take the UK, for instance. They're going to be infinitely better than most US companies around GDPR. So when they buy an agent from someone that's over there, I'm going to trust their agent because they've been doing GDPR and all this data privacy way better than the US, right? Just by longevity. And if you're a customer or you're a partner and you write an agent for MDE, but you've never been an MDE specialist, your specialist has been around, another product, that would make most customers dubious. Like, you never offered that before agent stuff. I'm going to stay with the partner that has been my identity specialist. It's been my threat detection. So the competition still is going to be protected for a while, because customers will sniff you out when
definitely.
you come there and you do something that's not in your realm of expertise, right?
Yeah. One of the things I'm really pushing partners to just take in is, whenever you build with intent, build with purpose, build with outcomes in mind. Don't build just to build. We want to have high quality things coming into the security store, high quality aspects coming into the embedded store experiences across our product stack. And our validation process is very, very stringent. We go over metadata, we go over verbiage, syntax within the manifest, and all these different areas to make sure that what does get over there is of high quality. Some of the other marketplaces out there let anything in, and it's been something that has caused a lot of distrust, a lot of lack of confidence, I think, in some of these areas about what is actually the incentive of me putting something in here when there's thousands and thousands of things that are very similar to mine, because people are duplicating or they're creating redundancies just because they want to have their name put on a plaque to say, hey, we have something in this store. That doesn't happen with the security store. I've had a partner that had their agent rejected 10 times in a row because of validation issues. And it was very minute things, very tiny things, inaccurate description, not adding in SCU estimations, not adding in a link that goes over to a support page, just very small metadata things that it didn't really impact necessarily the agent itself functioning, but it impacted the user experience around the purchase and deployment of it. And that's critical. We want to make sure that customers have a well understanding of what they're getting into, what they can expect, and it's going to ultimately create better confidence in the product and the store itself.
Yeah, and that's a great thing. He's saying that just because your product has all these wheelbarrows and features, there is a process for validation for you to get in to be able to do these things, right? And it makes it diligent. You don't, if you're going to create the criteria, stick to the criteria, right? And don't pivot from it. There are certain mobile app, stores and open sources that could learn from that, right? And for the most part, I get Apple. I'll say the word Apple. Their store is pretty legit now. It was rough at the beginning, but now in the last 8, 9, 10 years, they some people will say overly inspective, but that's fine. The Android stuff needs to be a little bit more loosey goosey because it's sort of the rebel store, but they're getting better also. So you got to give credit's due. So back to the partners, Jay. They're out here building these things to get into the security store. Are there any limits to how many agents they can deploy, even if they meet all the criteria? Or are you also vetting their prior expertise to create an agent as part of the delivery criteria or selection criteria or inclusion criteria to put into the store? Meaning, if you had a partner that's even they've been MISA certified, they got all these things, Are you mapping the agent submission to what they may have as a solution competency in their partner store? I think he froze.
Yep. James froze.
Got it. Agent got it. Agent 0.
It was that agent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that James wasn't here. I think there was an AI model talking to us. He went out to go get a beer.
Well, his monitoring agent caught up with him, I think.
So he's going to drop back out. Excuse a little bit. James is having a little bit of audio visual. He's going to drop out and come back in, everyone. I'm looking at it, Rod, to say that, hey, this is the future across everything. And
well, yeah. I think one of the things that I really wanted to highlight is, particularly from a security co-pilot perspective and all the agents, yeah, he'll be back here shortly, is that when security co-pilot originally released, and it looks like I'm freezing too. Am I freezing to you?
Yep.
What is going on? Oh, James is coming back. Hold on. All right, maybe I'll be okay.
Kind of weird drop.
I kick Rod out too. We'll add him back in a minute. Something froze up.
Try it again. Oh, okay. I'll be back.
All right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you froze up, but that's an interesting thing, being able to create that very viable and competitive market at the same time, and strict things. So I'll repeat the question: Are you guys using previous solution designations to the partner as they are registered in the partner central portal as the ability for them to submit an agent? Is that any part of criteria? If you've never been known as an MDE specialist or a MDO specialist or something else, is that any of the consideration, or it's just strictly on the merits of the criteria about submitting the agent all over?
So the process here is that whenever we engage with the partner, again, they can be engaged with us or not engaged with us, but ultimately what it leads up to is publishing through the partner center. We're utilizing the software as a service type offering to be able to accommodate for this. And there's a lot of metadata built into it across the board for these different areas, but we don't necessarily look at their area of expertise or specialization. We look at it based upon the types of integrations in the agent and how the agent works. So during the validation process of them uploading the agent, we actually take the agent down, we deploy it into our environment, we test it, we validate it to make sure that it works, that it gives the desired outcome, and that everything that is in part of that offering informational metadata is actually accurate. Then, we'll approve it for publication. But we actually do deployment processes with these each and every one, just to make sure that they do have the desired outcome. So it's not just looking at metadata and information that they're putting into the offering. It's also making sure that it actually is a workable, viable agent from a deployment and usability perspective.
I love to see what your lab looks like with all the agents running in there. It must look like a playground or a dog park with everything's running around. Hey, let me ask you another question before Ron gets back real quick. So I want to ask a Doug question. What are the partners creating the agent? What is the back-end development platform? How are they?
So the majority of our partners are actually leveraging the built-in agent builder in the Security Copilot portal. The reason behind that is it does give you a syntax accurate manifest to make sure that all of those common gotcha things are taken care of. White spaces, verbiage, formatting, stuff of that nature. And then they go ahead and they export that out as a YAML manifest file, and then they do alterations to it as needed. Currently, inside of our built-in agent experience, we do not support API or MCP server type tools. That's coming here in the near future. So what happens is that partners will export out that perfect manifest. They'll add in the additional pieces they need that can't be done within that, and then they'll bring it back in. They'll upload it as a YAML, and then they'll test it and validate it, and then package it. So there's a lot of ways of being able to handle on that side. There's other partners that prefer to just do everything from the ground up in Scratch through Visual Studio or vibe coding and other types of mechanisms. There's a lot of opportunities out there for third-party tools, but we always recommend taking that manifest file, uploading it into the Security Copilot portal for the agent builder, let it scan, validate, and analyze it, and give you a syntax perfect manifest, and then run with that. That's going to solve the problem of like 80% of the issues that we have with validation. It's the manifest problems.
So let me ask another question, part two of that question. Is M365 Studio a viable development platform to create agents and then upload it to the Security Copilot agent builder?
It's a viable solution for developing agents, but more aligned with the M365 side because of the tool set and how things are built. A manifest file is a manifest file, whether, it doesn't really matter. It's all about the syntax within it and all the different callouts and how it's looking for the different types of validation pieces. That's where the Security Copilot piece comes into play to make sure that it is accurate and that it pulls in correctly. So I would say that, yes, it is a viable solution from an M365 perspective, but it probably is not going to be a viable solution from a Security Copilot perspective.
Yeah, and for those that are watching live, Rod is not doing his best Neo with his hands. He's trying to get his camera fixate on him. I thought he was telling James to stop, but no, he's trying to get his camera to orient on him. So with that, let me ask some basic questions about the agent builder in Security Copilot. Some people may not know. They probably go look a little bit later. It's free with Security Copilot, right? Do you have to have Security Copilot to have the agent builder? I would say
correct. Yes, it is. It is part of the standalone experience, and there's no cost to using it until you get to the point of wanting to test out your agent. When you want to test it, then yes, you do have to have a capacity plan associated to it, so that the SUs can be spun around it. But what Rod's showing you here is that you have the ability to use natural language to tell it what type of agent you want to create. You can start from scratch. You can upload a YAML file. And right below the prompt at the top, there's also 3 rectangles that are sample examples. So you can go ahead and click on that, have something built that Microsoft has already predefined, and use that as something to be able to sort of see how the process looks, what the manifest looks like, and all that kind of fun stuff. So I recommend highly, taking a look at one of these 3 first if you're very new to this, and just sort of seeing the structure that's being built around it.
I think, what people will notice right away, the YAML files, they are so super simple. People just don't understand how simple it is to create an agent file or what simple instructions are that an agent actually uses to build itself. So
they're simple, but they're very particular.
Yeah.
You got to be very spot on with the formatting, the syntax. So for instance, when you click right here and go into this right here is what the UI looks like. So it's a great user interface about all the individual pieces. But if you're not a UI person, then in the upper right corner of that same window that says View Code, you click on that, you go straight into the manifest. And then you can start doing things from a code perspective. And you can switch back and forth between code and UI. Just depends on what you prefer from a preference perspective. And you'll see when you click on that View Code, a little download button. That's how you download that YAML file. And then ultimately be able to run with that and being able to make changes and alterations with it with a third-party tool, and then bring it back over when you're ready.
Yeah. Coming from an incident response background, YAML files is where they are in IOCs, right? So you mess with those. I think the biggest thing is, so all of our users and customers and partners that thought that all that skilling that you did at the very beginning of Security Copilot, you thought it was wasted, it wasn't going. Just think about all the learning that now you can go back and reapply, because this is nothing more than, if you remember building custom plugins, you just build on the knowledge now. So you got a custom plugin syntax. Now you got YAML file. That knowledge is recyclable now. So now that learning curve is really flat for you because you had prior experience. And I'm glad I did take the time. Thanks to Rod, he taught me a bunch of stuff in this. Thanks to Rick Halls, taught me even more stuff, right? So now I'm like, oh man, I learned all this stuff. I can get to use it. Now you can go use it because the major barrier is gone, which was, I don't even know how much SCU costs. I don't know how it's being used. Is it utilization costs? And now I have not played with any particular partner's agent offering, but the most interesting thing that I want to go learn about is I want to see how accurate and how viable the SCU estimator in each one of those are. When this agent runs, I don't need it to be perfect. I give it plus or minus 15%. Obviously, I want it to be 15% less than what is estimated is going to use. But if it goes 15% more in SCU usage on a 0.1 thing, that's fine. Like if it says it's going to use 1, but it ends up using 1.15 or even 1.5, you play with it, right? And see. And then let me ask you this question about it. How viable is it for customers to submit feedback to the partners about the agent? Do you require that the agent have a feedback mechanism inside of it? You don't? Okay.
No, it's more of a direct communication with the partner through their normal channels, and then they can escalate things through Microsoft. But in the end, the partner agents that are being developed, they go through a lot of stringent validations, as I mentioned, and just making sure that things are accurate. One of the newest things we've added into the mix of the validations is that when it comes to the offering plan, when you start looking at the cost of the agent, because there's a cost of the agent, and then there's an SEU cost also to actually run the agent. When it comes to the plan offering, we're requiring partners put in an estimated SCU use on a per run basis around a certain perimeter of entities. So for instance, like one of the things would be like, you can anticipate a 0.25 SCU usage for running this device triaged if you have between 100 and 200 devices. And then if you need to scale down from that or scale up from that, then you have the numbers to make that happen. It's all about setting expectations and also improving confidence in what a normal experience with this type of agent would be.
And you put a little bit, you make the customer put a little bit of skin in the game, because you may not need to run that agent 24/7. It could be very tactical when you run it, right? Especially if it's some type of incident investigation thing. I don't need it running all the time, right? I need to go in, like if it's a medium or informational or a low, my biological employees can handle it. But if it's a high and I need to put high fidelity on it and have multiple things working on it, I can. Or you can reverse it. I may want the agent just to run on the mediums while my human counterparts work on the high. Because missing the high will get you a pink slip. Missing a medium will get your hand slapped.
Absolutely. And it's a divide and conquer type mechanism, when it comes to agents and people. It all comes down to what's better from an information and knowledge perspective and what requires experience and wisdom. And that's where we differentiate between an agent and a person.
Yeah. I'm going to dive specifically and spend some time on that. I know I should be working on the holidays, but my mind doesn't do right if I don't put at least a little bit of work on it. I'll probably ask you for a favor, because one of the things I would want to do is try to figure out how to get, I guess I could just buy it from the market and put it in my own test tenant. I can do it that way. I don't have 1,000 users in my tenant.
I was going to say, a lot of the agents that you see right now in the security store, they are free, or they have a 1 month free trial. There's a few of them that are immediately paid, but the majority of them have a free trial or are free right now from a monetization perspective. And we're looking to add in new monetization mechanisms in it too. So there's a lot of opportunities there on that side. Some of the things I'm working on right now, and like I said, we'll see what comes from a fruition standpoint, is we're looking to improve the security store. So I have 3 marching orders for the next 6 months. One is, how do we bring Security Copilot to other types of SKUs, particularly business premium, for our SMBs and SMCs? How can we make that happen? Whether it happens or not, I'm not sure, but I'm looking to build a compelling story around why it should happen. The second one is around multi-tenancy, enabling multi-tenancy for our customers when it comes to Security Copilot, particularly our managed service providers. And we're going to see a lot of that coming to fruition here as we incorporate more and more into the Microsoft Defender portal. The Microsoft Defender portal has had the Defender XDR in it for quite a while. We've got Sentinel in it now. A little bit of parity gap, but still, working toward that progression. During Ignite, we saw Defender for Cloud get incorporated into the Defender portal, which is huge.
I saw.
Really, the only thing that we're missing right now is just bringing in MTO, multi-tenant organization. If we can overlay MTO on top of that, bring in the tenant IDs and so forth, then we have a flavor of multi-tenancy built in from an XDR perspective. Then we just overlay Copilot on top of that, and bam, we got it. It's a lot more difficult than it sounds, but it is something that I think is feasible. We're just working towards those different areas. And as far as my third sort of pillar that I'm working on, and that's going to be focusing on how do we improve the overall build and publishing experience in the built-in agent builder.
Yeah, that would be great.
Improvement of the back end
we need versioning control, in place. We need things around API and MCP server. There's quite a few other things that we need to incorporate in there that are just, quality of life improvements. And we're making great progress towards that too. So I'm very excited to see what the next 6 months show.
If I had to give any advice to the engineering team, and I still know quite a few people over there, be deliberate, but take your time. Let's not put a half-baked product out there, right? Just take your time. Now people have the patience to sit here and say, okay, we can wait. And now that the partners have the ability to innovate, you'll be able to do it. I think that the partners' innovation will come around feature requests that you're talked about to be able to do it. I think that MTO stuff and the you said multi-tenant, and then one or more. The other endeavors around modern SOC and from some of those things may solve the problem for you. If you wait long enough, they someone else will solve the problem for you. Like, oh, now we can employ it this way. I've been here long enough that I remember that stuff was sort of, especially in Sentinel, there was a little bit of multi-tenancy built in by mistake. And people would just bring in different stuff from different tenants as long as you have the rights on that other side and the tenant ID. But then we found that the correlation was messed up because of the different tenants, right? And the GUID and SWID. So they took it out. Rod and I were at the very beginning of the Sentinel stuff. I remember that used to be in there, and they say, "Oh, that doesn't work. We can't do that. You put in the data in, but we can't correlate it. We can't enrich it because it came from another tenant."
Yep. So, and there's a lot of concern from privacy, GDPR, and how the mixing and matching of data takes place and so forth. I'm curious, Rod, if you can go ahead and share your desktop and go to security.microsoft.com. I'm wondering if something has landed. I think it has, but I want the audience to be able to see this because this is something that's been asked for a long, long time. And it's going to help us be able to improve efficiency and overall quality too for the product perspective. But it's over in the Microsoft Defender portal. So security.microsoft.com. Scroll down to the bottom where it says System, and then go down to Settings.
It's almost like I know what you're doing.
Yeah. Go to, I thought there's a Copilot one in here.
It is right there, bottom.
That's Copilot. Yeah, Copilot and Defender. I'm thinking Defender for cloud. Custom guidebooks. No, not that. Go to Preferences. You don't have permission to that.
No, this is that.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. So basically what's inside of here is an option. I'm pretty sure that it's available across the board because I've seen it in a lot of presentations and so forth.
Give me a second here. Let me see if I can get mine up. Go ahead and continue. Let me bring my lab up. Give me a second.
But it's an option to disable automatic Copilot investigations whenever you go into the Defender portal in an incident. By default, that Copilot piece immediately starts triaging and doing a lot of different things, causing SUs to be fun. But we have a preference piece in there now that you can toggle that off and say that only enable Copilot from an ad hoc or on-demand approach. That's a huge ask for customers and partners alike that we're very concerned about, multiple people going in there, clicking on an incident, and it's spinning up SUs. Pretty sure it's across the board available. And again, it's underneath that piece where it says preferences. But it's something that impacts the entire tenant, which probably is the reason why the permissions are not there for you, Rod.
Yeah, I don't have it in my lab. The lab I have on this machine, I probably have it in my MCAPS lab, but I don't have it in this one because I don't have any SCUs provision. One thing probably a little bit deeper on the show, we were talking about that once the SCU allotment per 1,000 users is enabling your tenant, it is not pinned to a particular workspace. It's tenant-wide. I think I got an idea on how they do that. I don't know in particular. I don't want to speculate on the show, but that would be, it may be something relevant to one of the other products on how it's able to
Probably so. They probably use a similar place, but it's just a massive bucket in all honesty.
Yeah.
And that bucket is just fed from a monthly basis. At the end of the month, it refreshes and you get your SUs back in, and there's no rollover type process to it. But this right here does allow you to be able to have that from a tenant-wide perspective. But again, that's the disadvantage of the tenant-wide is you can isolate it for very individual specific purposes. So you got to manage and maintain that and not let certain teams potentially over consume.
Well, that goes in because one of the things they did get right, everybody was beating up on Security Copilot. One of the things they did get right was it recommended certain security groups at initial provisioning of it.
Oh, absolutely.
And it understands RBAC, right? So you can go in and say these groups are the only ones that can have access to use Security Copilot. That solves it. That solves the problem right there. So nothing new to learn. Like you want everybody to have certain, things into Sentinel or Defender portal, right? I only want you to have contributor or something like this or operator. So that piece is easy. I think the biggest thing is plan this out. Don't turn it on without having a plan. Here's the team that needs to access, create a customized security group, a role group, whatever. Put the people in there and turn it on. It's not like getting ACO from Microsoft, whereas if you put that credit inside the tenant, something else eats up all the credit. You put it in there for Sentinel, and then Azure WAF ate all the credit up.
Yeah, it's not only just the fact that you're concerned about the consumption of the SUs, but Security Copilot and Copilots in general across Microsoft, they're exposing access and permission that may not have supposed to have been there.
Yeah.
And people get very upset about, well, why can you see the CEO's documents? It's not Copilot doing that. You already had access to it. You just didn't realize you had access to it. Now you have a tool that actually conveys and reasons against all the access points, all the data. So now you're getting access to things that, yes, you had access to this entire time. You just didn't realize they existed.
Yep. You didn't go looking for it. It went out and did what you told it to do, and it come. That's one of the things when we first started this podcast 5 years ago. I would enable Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps or MCAS a long time ago, and the organizations were like, "Whoa, we got all this running." and now you can't unsee it because I would ask, how many SaaS apps do you have running? Oh, we keep a very tight lip on that. We probably got about 20. I said you probably need to multiply it times 10.
Yep.
And look at it, and then people go, "Oh my God!" So, but yeah, the data's there and the access levels are there. You didn't realize it because you didn't go looking for it, right?
Yep. And as Rod's showing right here, this right here is that piece I was talking about, the generate on demand. That way, it's not automatically generating. It's not automatically consuming SEUs every time you go to an incident. You can even say that only auto-generate under certain severities and certain types of conditions. So that's a great way of being able to put guardrails on this and not have things go out. Because you can imagine if you have 7 or 8 people looking at the exact same incident, then you're having it ran 6 or 7 times.
Yeah, I would take credit a little bit for that. That was one of my customers that was part of that beating on me and working with Mark Kendrick on that. I was there for that. Me and Mark worked on that. So they were beating on our heads about it. So that they did not like that auto summarization when they opened up the security.microsoft.com. And the other one, most people don't realize there's an alias for that too. If you go to defender.microsoft.com, you'll get to the same portal. I wonder why they did that. I don't know.
It's interesting, though. We'll also see things happening here, and some of it's already been implemented around caching mechanisms. It's a great way of being able to have information cached from an AI perspective, and then be able to reutilize that information. But recognizing also that if there are situations where new information comes into light that needs to be reanalyzed, that it will run it again because of that new information. So it's not going to just stay stagnant and have you looking at old cached information. But it is looking at it from a way that you'll be able to, try to help to put those SDUs and consumption things on guardrails to some degree.
That makes sense. Yeah. Rod got me jealous. Now I got to spend some time in
this is embarrassing. I got to say, the last time that I used this environment was in April for Security Copilot. That's sad.
Is that my goodness. That's not.
I used to use Security Copilot literally every day. And you know what happened in April? I moved roles within Microsoft.
Oh,
there you go.
That will do it to you sometimes.
Yep.
This is not your old lab,
I missed that. I missed that. Oh well.
This must be a new lab. Anyway. Well, James, this has been super, super, super informative. I think our listeners greatly appreciate it. I appreciate you coming back on. You did as you promised. You're more than welcome to come back on. And staying in line to what we do. Hey, what's up, Trev? We will have partner month. I don't know if we'll go back to April next year because we moved it. We moved it
because of RSA. When's RSA this next year?
I don't know.
RSA 2020.
Yeah, we're gonna make it. We're gonna get the partners who've been on the show in the past. We've had Blue Voyant, Critical Star.
Rock says it's in March.
In March.
Yeah, March 23rd through 26th.
Might be a good time to have it in like April.
Now we can go back to our partner month that's in April. So we give all the partners chances, and then we're going to make another theme. Because you came on this year for partner month. You did the keynote, and then we had 8 partners this year that came on. We did 2 shows a week, I think. So we're going to do it again next year. I think this is the time to go back and say, okay, partners, Security Copilot, you guys got all hype. You fell down. Now you back up. And we're going to make a requirement that if you're a partner, you want to come on the show in April of 2026, you have to have at least, I was about to say at least 2 agents in the marketplace, but we'll say 1, and we'll get everybody back. We'll go back to the usual suspects first, but we're going to make it a point that at least 20% of whoever we bring back next year is net new. I want to see some of the newer people. But we will make sure that we give the people that came on.
I think all we have to do is go through the security store and find the agents, the authors of the agents. We're just like, who are those people?
Yeah, I'll say the ones I had the most as of right now. You're gonna be looking at Glucanja. They have, I believe, 12. And then we have Adaquest. I believe they have 4 or 5 that are out there.
Shout out to Adaquest. Shout out to Mark Snyder. I talked to him this weekend. He's a big Adaquest guy. He's be one of my partners I covered.
Yeah. Blue Void, I think, has like 3 or 4 that are out there. And there's quite a few other, like the People's Tech Group. I think they're underneath the umbrella of Quest Global. They have a couple of them that are out there too. So there's a lot of partners that have multiple ones. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there to be able to really focus on some of those multi-use case scenarios.
Yeah, that's great. Well, to our listeners, we went over, but we want to make sure we give our esteemed guest, Mr. J. Key, his time he needed. Rod and I talked a little longer. James, anytime you want to come on, you want to host a show, you want to come on and talk about some show, I'll take you hosting the show so I can take some DTO.
There you go, man. Anytime.
And I can go create me a cow outfit in a spaceship and go do the same thing.
Hey, we need to reconnect in person also up in Redmond during a partner airlift event that's taking place the last week of January, the 27th through the 29th. So if y'all are around, love to bump elbows. We're going to have a huge amount of partners that are going to be there. And maybe we can sort of see what partners may want to be involved in the April event.
I may have a change that I could talk to you about soon that may facilitate me being up there in January, end of January. And
Perfect.
We'll see about that. I was about to say come up to New York next week because I got mandatory training in New York, but we'll see. Well, everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Security Insights podcast and our show. In regards to our esteemed host, Rod Trent, and also Frank, who's out doing all the good work out there. Thanks for listening to the show and supporting the show. We will be back. Let me look at my calendar on the wall.
18th.
The 18th of January.
No. December.
This stupid calendar, man.
Well, one thing I do want to ask, if y'all can go through the comments that's been submitted, capture all those for me and shoot them over through email. I'd love to answer each individual one and get that back as like a recap. I think that'd be a great way of getting some value back to the people that took time out to be able to attend this live, ask those questions, and make sure that each one of them get vetted, along with support documentation to back up the answers.
That'd be great. Yeah.
We need to do that. We also need to go update our Discord channel. We got to get Noodle back on the job, him and Nate, right? So we can just capture
Noodle's like super busy now. So we're gonna have to maybe we can get
Noodle.
Brody to do our Discord channel.
Yeah, we'll do it. All right. Well, everyone, have a good evening. Thanks for tuning into the show. We'll be back December 18th. I got it right this time. Yeah. And then any questions you may have, we need to get our email set up. Who's checked the email box lately, Rod? I don't know. We need to figure that out.
I'm always checking mine. I don't know about yours.
I haven't done that. I don't know the computer. Who you tell? It's blank over here. All right. Have a good one.
All right.
Thank you.
Peace.